Start the recording and I'm going to start the webinar. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today. It's great to see you all coming through. Um, I'm just going to give it 2 minutes so we can get some more people joined on. So this is the perfect opportunity to grab a cup of tea or a glass of water before we get going with the bulk of the webinar. So I'll just give it another couple of minutes and then we will get going. And it would be great to hear, I guess, whilst we're waiting, where you guys are joining us from or what role in the industry you play. So I've enabled the chat box in the Q&A. I will just check that everyone can use it. But yeah, if you'd like to give an introduction, I think it's always really nice to hear where everybody is joining us from, what their kind of background is. That would be cool to see. Okay, so it's a couple of minutes past. I'm going to get started. So, welcome to this afternoon's webinar. So, we are delighted to be hosting this session in partnership with the Botswana Green Building Council. Let me begin by introducing today's speakers. I'll start with myself. My name is Julia and I am on the commercial team at Sintali. Chances are most of you will not have heard of Sintali before, and I will be going into kind of who we are and why we have partnered with Botswana Green Building Council. I'm also joined by Tebi Modescape, an edge expert and chairperson at the Botswana Green Building Council, along with Busa, who is an edge expert and part of the Green Building Council as well. And also we are joined by Dr. Priya Iyer from Botho University, who will also be sharing her insights as well. So thank you all for showing up today and hearing us talk. And we are, excited to explore this particular topic. So before we begin, a couple of housekeeping notes. Chat box is enabled. I can see people are introducing themselves in the chat box already. That's great. Please feel free to use this or the Q&A function to share your questions as we go. We'll have time at the end to answer questions and any unanswered questions we will follow up by email. So let's focus on our objectives. What are our objectives today? So first, we'll be looking at IFC's Edge Green Building Standard, what it is and why it is bringing valuable to developers across Africa and beyond. We'll be looking at the business case for Edge and then understanding how clients across the world are using the standard to create sort of green building and environmental solutions in the sector. Before we begin and dive into that, I'd like to briefly introduce Sintali. So we are an environmental verification company, and we are one of the global certification providers of the EDGE Green Building Standard. EDGE certification, you may not know what this is, and you'll be learning that today. It represents around 80% of our work, and it kind of aligns with Sintali's overall mission, which is about making green building practice the norm across the environment sector. So a bit of background on that. Our co-founder was involved with IFC on the development of the standard in 2012, and we've been a certification partner since 2015. In terms of impact, we have issued over 130,000 EDGE certificates to date across the world, and this represents more than 500 million square feet of certified floor area across a range of building types, from residential, offices, data centers, resorts, and more, and across 110 different countries. So green building on a global level is sort of what we're looking to achieve and what our focus is on as a company. But before we get into that, I'd like to hand over to Tebi, who will set the scene for us, share more about the role of green buildings in Botswana and how the Green Building Council is supporting that transition. So over to you, Tebi.
Thank you, Julia. Depending where you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Botswana Tebi Modisagape, Chairperson of Botswana Green Building Council and EDGE expert. Before we go to the global examples or case studies, I want us to bring this conversation home to Botswana, because EDGE is not just a global tool. It speaks directly to where Botswana is today and where we are going. Number one, Botswana is entering a massive building phase. Through Botswana Housing Corporation, Botswana is preparing for one of the biggest housing programs in our history with the 100,000 units Bono Affordable Housing Scheme. Developers have been invited to express interest across the country. For a project of this scale, speed, affordability, and quality matter. EDGE helps developers design buildings that use less energy, less water, low carbon, eco-friendly materials. And most importantly, EDGE uses Botswana's own climate and construction data, making the results realistic and achievable, not theoretical. Number two, a huge opportunity is in retrofitting existing buildings. We talk a lot about new buildings, but the biggest savings are sitting in our old buildings, especially public buildings. We all know the story: air cons running while windows are open, taps leaking for weeks, even months, 6-liter systems still being installed, high energy bulbs still used, clear glass with no UV protection, making buildings unbearably hot. This is why public buildings consume more energy than private buildings. Retrofitting is Botswana's low-hanging fruit. It creates green jobs immediately for energy auditors, retrofit contractors, solar installers, plumbers, HVAC technicians, and many more. It is exactly the type of project climate finance institutions want to support. Number three, Botswana has begun its energy transition, the clean energy transition. We see solar farms and mini-grids emerging across the country. We are moving in the right direction, but here's the gap. You cannot run a future powered by solar if your buildings are still leaking energy. EDGE shows how much energy you save, how performance improves, which green measures offer the best return. It connects solar generation with building efficiency, and that is where Botswana unlocks real value. Number four, developers want to access green finance. The ask is, how do we attract climate finance? How do we become investor ready? And financiers want proof. They want real numbers on energy savings, water savings, carbon reduction. EDGE provides this instantly. Clear metrics, clear return on investment, transparent performance. It makes your project bankable, which is exactly what green funds and development banks require. Number five, ESG is reshaping Botswana's banking sector. and our national direction. Botswana is currently developing a national ESG strategy, which will guide how institutions report and manage environmental, social, and governance performance. This is a major step forward for the country. At the same time, banks must now report the environmental performance of their portfolios. This is why we're seeing green loans, green mortgages, sustainability-linked products. But banks can only fund projects that demonstrate measurable savings in energy, water, and materials. EDGE gives them credibility and prevents greenwashing. And it's important that it aligns perfectly with where our national ESG strategy is taking us. Number 6, investor-ready projects are now a national priority. We all see undeveloped plots across the country, especially around the new CBD and CESA by the airport. When these projects seek funding, investors ask, where is the efficiency? Where is the sustainability? Where is the climate resilience? EDGE-aligned projects stand out because they come with data and performance metrics. Botswana is raising its standards, and that is exactly the direction we need. Lastly, number 7, but not least, the role of the Botswana Green Building Council. As Botswana Green Building Council, GBC, our mandate is to support this transition by building capacity for professionals and institutions, integration of green standards in policy, providing training, tools, and certification, supporting developers to adopt green measures, advocating for incentives and alignment with global standards, and positioning Botswana to compete for climate finance. We are here to ensure Botswana's build a climate and smart future. And in closing, why it matters for Botswana and why it matters now, EDGE gives Botswana a simple, free tool anyone can use, a clear business case for efficiency, a pathway to unlock green finance, a framework aligned with ESG and investor expectations, a way to future-proof every project we build. We are seeing public tenders. Bidders are requested to integrate green measures. This is forward-thinking Botswana. Even Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, PPRA, is reviewing materials pricing and quality. We must support them so that greenwashing does not enter our market. At the end of the day, this is how we create green jobs, attract sustainable investment, and build the Botswana we want. Before I hand over to Julia, as we move forward, I want to leave you with this. Integrate green measures in your designs and start building green asset portfolios. This is where the world is going, and Botswana must go there too. For developers, this is how you future-proof your projects and attract investment. For asset managers, I hope you are in this call. This is how you unlock new green financial products. And for banks, this is how you meet ESG requirements and unlock green climate or green financial products. For the public sector, this is how you reduce operational costs and build resilient infrastructure. For civil society, this is your way to healthier and more comfortable spaces. And for the private sector, this is your next competitive advantage. Green is no longer optional. It is the new currency of growth. I thank you. Over to you, Julia.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Toby, for that. I think it's really interesting that you sort of touch on two things there. This challenge, the challenge in the market to provide affordable housing, to provide efficient homes that people can live in, to decarbonise the sector. But then equally with that is this opportunity for the consultants, the developers, the financial institutions to really scale this. So it's really great to sort of hear how that can work in that local context. So I'd now like to pass over to Dr. Priya Iyer and Aditya Ram from Botho University, who are also going to share some thoughts with us this morning. So over to you both, and thank you for joining.
Hi, Julia. Thank you, and thanks for everybody being here. I'm going to ask Priya to quickly present basically a case on our use and greening our campus in Botswana, and also how the EDGE certification method has been so useful in actually guiding that journey and our own journey towards getting an EDGE certified campus. Over to you, Priya, and I'll add in as and when required. Thanks.
I think Aditya, you can continue. I think she's still with the.
Sure, no problem. I'm gonna quickly then, I have to pull up a presentation. Let me see if I can do that. Give me a second. Sorry, I was not prepped. Tebi, if you can, then just give me 2 minutes so that I can prep myself, because I thought Priya was sharing. But if she's not available, then I will quickly.
She's still yes, she's still helping the ambassador, I think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Fine. Give me 2 minutes. Sorry about this, everyone.
No problem at all.
Julia, if you do want to continue with the other part and then come back to us in 5 minutes for the benefit of everybody, that also works with us.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think
because I think we were planning to come a little bit later in.
No problem. So I will I'll talk a little bit about the value of green building and what EDGE actually is, and then happy for you to jump in after that, showcasing the sort of scheme that you've been working on. So I guess what we really want to delve in today is why are developers opting to certify with EDGE, and what is the current opportunity for developers, building owners, and those working within the built environment space. So what is the value of green buildings? So there's a clear and growing business case for green buildings, and these are some of the typical drivers that we see, and some that Tebi has mentioned on already. So verifying sustainability measures, differentiating business from competitors, attracting new customers, accessing preferential lending rates, and improving property valuation. Now, these benefits are fairly common across all green building standards, but to truly understand the value of green buildings, we need to look at them through the lens of different stakeholders. So what are people in the system actually looking for from a green building solution? So developers may be aiming to achieve ESG goals, increase asset value, future-proof or comply with regulations. Property managers may be looking for solutions to retrofit at scale and improve those existing assets. Financial institutions are looking to generate a pipeline of green products, and professionals are looking to improve services to clients and decarbonising the sector. And that's where EDGE comes in. So EDGE was created in 2015 by IFC, and we strongly believe it can be an effective green building solution for this wide range of stakeholders. So EDGE is one of the globally recognized green building standards. It was designed by IFC, the International Finance Corporation, a sister organization for the World Bank, and it was developed for three main reasons. The first, to make green building accessible by removing barriers to entry. To make it scalable so developers and asset owners can decarbonise at scale. And then finally, to make it easier for financial institutions to invest in green buildings. Now, EDGE is unique because it consists of three core elements: a building design tool to help stakeholders measure and then improve their building performance, a green building standard that sets a tangible target for improvement, and a certification scheme to verify and validate those achievements in a credible way. You may be familiar with a range of green building standards. EDGE is different because it focuses on three specific areas. That is operational energy, water consumption, and embodied carbon. So to achieve EDGE certification, a building must demonstrate at least 20% improvement in resource efficiency compared to a local baseline. So first, let's focus on the EDGE app itself. So fundamentally, EDGE is a software that allows users to assess the environmental impact of their building and then improve that performance. So if you're a developer or an architect, you can model your project inside the EDGE app, and the tool compares it to something called a local baseline. The baseline is calculated by IFC, built into the app, and includes local building codes, climate conditions, typical utility costs. It represents a hypothetical building with the same geometry, layout as the modelled building, but designed to meet the standard local practice. So as you input your model into the app, you can see where your project is in relation to a local baseline. And then in order to achieve the standard, you have to achieve a 20% efficiency improvement across energy, water, and embodied carbon. Within the app, there is a list of applicable efficiency measures, clear visibility into the incremental costs associated with each measure, and then impact data, including carbon savings, typical utility cost, energy consumption reduction, and then instant feedback. So the app itself is not just telling you what your building performance is, but it also helps developers understand how to improve that impact. And then what are the costs associated with implementing further efficiency decisions. So fundamentally, it is a certification scheme, but it can also be used as a planning tool to deliver greater efficiency in your buildings. So while the app is free and can be used as that design tool, to meet the EDGE standards, there are specific thresholds. So EDGE certified is entry level, and you need to achieve a 20% improvement compared to the baseline across energy, water, and embodied carbon. EDGE Advanced requires a project to achieve 40% energy savings compared to the baseline, with 20% in water and embodied carbon. And then finally, once you have achieved EDGE Advanced, you can go for EDGE Zero Carbon, which sort of focuses on the operational energy, covering that 100%. Firstly, reducing demand for energy through efficiency measures, then implementing on-site or off-site renewables, and then finally through verified carbon offsets. So with this kind of pathway here, it supports that journey towards EDGE, towards net zero operations. So that's a bit about the app and what it focuses on. Adita, would you like to share your slides? Are they ready, or would you like me to continue? Happy.
I am very much ready. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
And apologies for, so I'm going to quickly share my screen. If that's fine. Okay. Let me know when you can see my screen, and once I put it on slideshow, if you can see the full screen.
It is just.
Is that fine?
Yeah, perfect.
Great. So firstly, good afternoon from the airport. So I'm going to quickly try and present through this, but it's wonderful to be on this, and thank you for the opportunity. A quick word about Botho University. We are present in 3 countries: in Botswana, where we originally started. We have a campus in Lesotho and in Eswatini, and a distance learning campus called Online Campus. Just over 7,000 students, and really focused on 3 faculties, health education, business and accounting, and engineering and technology. And I think it's an interesting one how we've kind of blended our Going Green campus with the Faculty of Engineering and Technology, and I'll add to that afterwards as well. So it's a little bit about us, but I think let's mainly start talking about Going Green. I think the first major initiative we actually did was, for many years, we've been kind of following solar technology and trying to see how do we offset some of the power that we draw from the grid. And as many people know, in Botswana, primarily our source of power in Botswana is from coal, which is not the most renewable source of energy. And so as an institution, we saw how do we best offset that? And solar is an incredible method to be able to do it. Not just, I would say financially, there are huge benefits, but there's also obviously the social benefits of it becoming a live laboratory in effect, right? It's during the installation of the first phase, we actually involved, graduate engineers from the program, interns from the program, to actually work on the installation and gain hands-on knowledge about how these installations are done, and at the same time kind of capacity building local installers in Botswana with the knowledge of how to do these things. And so we installed this really over 2 phases, and we're actually right now in the feasibility of actually moving this to a 3rd phase, which would take us to well over 0.5 megawatt of installed capacity. It's been incredible for us. I mean, over 60% of the power requirement of the institution comes from our own resources. We do feedback into the grid as well. And the government of Botswana has an incredible scheme called the Rooftop Solar Program, which we were very proud to be the pilot site for. So they tested whether this could work out using the solar system we had installed. And through this, institutions, households, anybody are actually able to, feed back excess power generated back to the grid, and the local utility is actually able to give us credit for that. And through this, the return on investment, if you're looking from a financial perspective, is fantastic. It's better than putting your money in the bank. So it really is a no-brainer. And at the same time, we're doing the great thing of actually, producing real sustainable green energy. The second initiative we did, and I want to also say, Tebi spoke about retrofitting. And when it comes to energy, the other thing we did do is we did an entire retrofit throughout the campus of removing old standard tube lights and moving towards LED lights. And that also had almost a 20% reduction in power. We also looked at the air conditioning units we used. We were already using VRV or VRF, it's called, air conditioning units. And these package units really had already helped to reduce our energy demand by about 20 to 30%. So I think while we're developing buildings, if we're really looking about the long-term kind of benefits that are able to come, yes, there may be an upfront cost to it, but the long-term benefits of some of these installations really has paid off for us as an institution. A typical air conditioning system lasts anything between 15 to 25 years. So the onward benefit of saving 20 to 30% of your power far outweighs whatever would have been the cost differential at the beginning. The other aspect we targeted was water. Botswana, as we know, is a water scarce country. We even went through a situation where in Gaborone, where our main campus is, where the dams went completely dry during a period of severe drought. And so what we did do, again, through retrofitting, is we went through an entire retrofit of the entire campus, that is taps, showers, toilets, and going in for high efficiency taps, where what we were told is the original taps we had, up to 85% of the water actually never touched a person's hand, right? It was just literally just washing down the sink. to now a system where actually 85% of the water touches the person's hand and is actually being actively used. Similarly with toilets, using high efficiency toilets that use a lot less water for every flush, and putting in a dual flush system, a lower flush and a higher flush depending on what the toilet's use was. Also moving towards waterless urinals, and in the showers, changing shower heads to make them have a higher pressure so they can still be effectively used, but the actual flow rate of these shower heads was a lot lower than what was there before. And incredibly, through this, the payback, and the reason I keep talking about the financial side as well, I think we should be doing all of this for the right reasons. Many a time, the money factor comes into the discussion. The payback on the water project was 8 months, right? So it's a no-brainer. We reduced our water demand by almost 85% at the beginning. What we did see is some of that kind of started to tailor off in like year 4, year 5, as some of the infrastructure started to age, but at the same time as some of the buildings started to age. And so what we did install is we installed data monitors first at source, so at our main meter point, and at every building. And what that does mean is we're getting, in 15-minute intervals, water usage statistics across the campus. And what these statistics have enabled us to do is to find leaks faster, right? Identify, is this leaks that are there in transmission, so from the main meters to the buildings, or is it night, like for instance, tracking nighttime usage when the buildings should be empty, there should be no usage, but if there is water usage that's ongoing, that means there's something that's running in the evenings that shouldn't be. And we're able to kind of work through a process of elimination to actually cut that back down. Again, the payback on actually installing these meters and getting that data has been phenomenal. So again, something that I do feel should be done. And amazingly, a lot of these companies are available within our own local markets. So these are not skills that we need to import in from somewhere else. We're actually able to find these companies locally within Botswana. The third aspect we looked at was waste. We had standard dustbins across campus. We had a big, garbage collection space, and we had a company that would come and collect all that garbage on a weekly basis and take it to the landfill. The first initiative we saw was we would run large events, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, like for graduation, and we used to do plastic water bottles. And first thing we saw was unused bottles, half-used bottles, and used bottles littered all over the place. And now you've got to be able to collect and use it. And literally, you're throwing good water down the drain because you can't reuse a bottle. And so, in effect, we banned the use of single-use plastics across events and then across campus. And this has had an incredible impact. I think just the other day, I was asking them for some statistics, and I think we've saved over 80,000 bottles of water going into the landfill just by doing this. And that is one institution. It was difficult, I will be honest, creating this kind of change in events where people are very used to, there being plastic water bottles, and asking people to come with their own water bottles that we would refill. So we would have large refilling points across these events. And the first year was tough. But from the second year, we actually started seeing that positive change. And many people now bring their own bottles. They know it. It's a Botho University event. I have got to bring my own water bottle. And I can refill it there, but I'll bring my own water, and they take it back with them. The other thing we did do is obviously bring in a recycling program into campus, separating paper from waste, paper, metal, plastic, and metal. And interestingly, what happened from this is we started the recycling and we took it to source, and we worked with a provider who actually came and collected separated waste. We reduced our, what we put into the landfill actually initially by over 50%, but currently it's at about 33%. And the reason was we actually started finding there were no tins left, because when we started separating tins from all the other waste, somebody started collecting all those tins by themselves, and they were taking it through, because there is a program in Botswana where if you take tin waste to one of the recycling companies, they actually pay you for that waste. And so somebody's got a job out of it and is making something, which is fantastic. I do feel by doing some of these steps, what it has done is we get people asking us questions. Why did you install solar? And we're able to give the reason. Why have you done these? What is this thing with your taps? And why are you asking us to bring our own water? And when you do give these very clear reasonings for why we do it, which is, from an environmental perspective, from an educational perspective, we're seeing conscious change from those who we interact with within our stakeholder base, including our students and our staff. And I think that's the kind of fringe benefit we've had. But where does Edge fall into all of this? So I just want to quickly talk about our Edge journey. I think we started this process last year, really thinking, oh my God, we're ready for certification. We've done all these wonderful things. It must be a piece of cake. And so we did go into the system. And the first thing, the system is very clear. It's easy to go into it yourself. There's no cost to it, as Julia was mentioning. And then we started going in depth and we started learning so much more in terms of things we could do more. And I think what was also incredible and what we would recommend is that when you start going through it, is find a local Edge expert who's able to kind of work with you through the process. They obviously understand it more than a layman would. I would say for us now, after a year of using the system, we feel we've become mini Edge experts ourselves. So I guess for us, big reasons for why we chose Edge. One, it was really easy. It's not complicated. It dumbs down green for anybody and really shows you what you could do. And there's a very big manual if you'd like to read on how to use the system as well. I guess for us, there was locally available resources in Botswana, who are already doing this, people like Tebi. And obviously, Edge is a globally recognized certificate. It's not a regional certificate. It's from the IFC, and it's talked about in many places. I think it would be wrong of me not to share some of our challenges that we've had as well. I think what we did find was the difficulty is it is a true certification. You require thorough documentation. It's not something that you can just show somebody, oh, this is what we've done. Then there will be the question, okay, what do you have to prove it? Are there building drawings that show that you actually built in this manner? Do you have the monitors? Do you have the data from those monitors? And so we did have to involve construction engineers to actually come and redo actual as-built drawings to be able to show us what was actually there. We also had to put our own team through some training. Actually, some of it was freely available from Edge. So it does come up, I think. I've done a couple of their certifications as well. And it forced us to actually start looking at our own data and improving our own data sources. Right now, we're at the place where we actually have done all of that, and we're now going to be submitting, or we have submitted. I'd have to confirm with the team. And hopefully soon I'll be able to announce that we are an Edge certified campus. Our intention is to actually then to go ahead and roll this out into other infrastructure of the institution and other campuses of the institution, so that the entire institution's infrastructure is certified by Edge at one of the 3 levels. Ideally, we're going to try and move towards the Edge certification level 3, which is the 0 carbon rating, and we're working towards that. So I think just thank you very much, Julia and Tebi, for the opportunity to present our case. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any at any stage, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aditya, for sharing those insights. I think it's really valuable to hear directly from the source. What are the returns on the investments of the measures that you're implementing, how it's providing benefits for your site, and then your experience using the app, why going for the certification provides not only validity for those measures, but also it requires collecting the documentation, sort of inputting that into the app and showing the case for that. So, I think, I listed a couple of slides. What are the benefits for developers? And your example shows exactly what we would like to see from developers and how you are using innovation to really improve, one, the efficiency of the building, but two, it was also really interesting to hear about the sort of plastic waste elements. And inviting discussions to challenge people's behavior. Why are we doing this? And building that awareness through those conversations, through those actions. So that was, yeah, really, really, really great to hear. Thank you so much. So I am going to re-share my screen. There we go. Can you see that there?
Yes.
Perfect. So Adita's gone through sort of how Edge provides value for developers and institutions who want to improve the impact of their building. But I want to kind of flip the direction and understand how Edge creates system level change and how it fits into a broader system level approach. So when we see governments, financial institutions, and regulatory bodies all working in alignment to support green buildings, this is where impact multiplies. And this is what we are seeing with Edge, as more governments, financial institutions are backing the brand and making it easier for developers to certify. So today, over 50 financial institutions offer green finance products linked to Edge. The standard is also aligned with major sustainability reporting frameworks, such as EU taxonomy, climate bonds, and CDB, which helps developers meet their requirements and attract capital. So I want to share a couple of examples where developers have worked in tandem with the financial sector to show impact. So in Kenya, Acorn Holdings achieved Edge certification for student housing in Nairobi. They were the first developer in the country to issue a green bond, the value of that bond being $443 million US, with proceeds financing Edge certified student accommodation. The bond was 86% subscribed, priced at 12.25%, and since 2020 it has financed the development of over 7,000 student beds across 8 purpose-built accommodation properties in Nairobi. So this is a clear example of how Edge certification can unlock capital, but ultimately drive impact. Similarly, in South Africa, Bolwin Properties has certified 1.7 million square meters of green homes. So the CEO developed a pipeline of certified developments and then approached Absa Bank to co-create a green mortgage product. So Absa launched a program offering qualified home buyers reduced mortgage interest rates for Edge certified homes. And in this case, Bolwin didn't gain directly through the financing, but they sold a record of 807 homes in 1 month, and they're now using the loan to drive further business growth. So again, this is an example of how developers and financial institutions can work together to create incentives that generate outcomes for both the buyers and the market. So again, whilst Bolwin wasn't accessing the financing, they ultimately got the business through working with Absa Bank. And South Africa is a really strong sort of residential example, and they have over 42,000 homes certified with Edge since 2015. So flipping onto the government sector then, it's not only the financial sector that are demonstrating system level change, governments are also using Edge to accelerate green buildings. So across different markets, governments are offering incentives such as tax benefits, bonus density, grants and loans, expedited permitting, legislation, technical assistance. So these incentives reflect how governments are seeing the value in Edge as a trusted way to verify buildings' performance. So let's take an example of a market where this system level approach has driven a huge uptake of Edge. So Colombia is a market where uptake of Edge has grown rapidly. So green buildings have accelerated from 0 to 20% in between 2018 to 2021. As of April 2025, the nation has 20 million square meters of certified green space, including 200,000 green homes, 70% of which are affordable housing. But the growth isn't accidental. There are 3 key reasons why Edge has grown in Colombia. Firstly, the government provided tax incentives for energy efficiency, including EDGE. Secondly, 5 major banks offered green finance products for EDGE certified buildings. And then finally, Cameco, who is a local construction chamber, supported clients through the EDGE certification process to raise local market awareness. So EDGE accelerated because for developers, EDGE was an easy choice. There were tax incentives from the local government, financial support from the financial institutions, and a local construction chamber providing advice and information about the standard. So the clear sort of benefits and the accessibility of the app, when all of these key system players are working in tandem, that's where we've seen this impact. So if there are clear opportunities for developers, financial institutions, governments, there's also a huge opportunity for architects and consultants to build their own green business. In fact, a recent study showed that the cost of green building measures typically represent less than 2% of overall construction costs. What this tells us is that the additional cost of creating an efficient building is marginal compared to total project spend. What developers really need is the right support from architects and green building consultants to deliver green designs in a scalable way. So that's why if you are providing a green building service, or you are an architect, upskilling in EDGE and utilizing the platform to help accelerate green design, I think is really valuable in terms of the business opportunity. But also it's a huge responsibility for architects to be able to create that impact. And on the flip side as well, Aditya was sort of talking about his process using EDGE and how his team have become experts in EDGE. And that's another opportunity in itself, is EDGE for architects and anyone in the green building space to become experts in green design and to be able to create impact. So within the EDGE certification process, there is a defined role called an EDGE expert, who is an architect or consultant that has qualified to support clients through the EDGE certification process. They can use the EDGE software directly to help developers design greener, more efficient buildings at scale. They can act as consultants, guiding clients through the certification process and help meet the required thresholds. But I think the value goes well beyond the certification. So for many clients, EDGE becomes a springboard to wider services. So aligning outcomes with sustainability reporting, supporting procurement of efficient technologies, costing and planning efficiency upgrades, and providing project management. So again, if you're working in the green building space, there's a huge opportunity here for yourself to grow a green business. So I think we've covered how EDGE creates value, both from using the example from Aditya and thinking about how EDGE can drive system level change. I wanted to bring in some more examples of developers who are using EDGE to achieve their goals and what the value is, what the value they are delivering with those certified assets. So the project you can see here on the right is Lehego Housing. The development was delivered by Real and Afre Group. Real is an innovator and investor in climate smart affordable housing, and Afre Group is a green building consultancy that supports developers to find sustainable solutions. And both organisations have a strong commitment to sustainability, with Real specifically focusing on investing in climate smart housing. So how do they use EDGE and what made it valuable to them? So their main drivers for EDGE certification were twofold. First, there was a growing demand for affordable housing. And the second, they needed a trusted standard to verify the impact and support access to green financing. The obstacle was it was the first of its kind. So Lehego Housing went on to be certified and was the first affordable housing development in Ghana with the accreditation. So they were sort of seen as pioneers within the industry. And I think when you are the first to pilot any kind of innovation, there's always the fear of not finding value in that, or sort of the fear of the unknown, I suppose. But the outcome was the delivery of 100 two-bedroom green homes developed by Tamale Community Cooperative Credit Union. And importantly, the project's impact was recognised by the wider financial sector. So local mortgage providers, including FNB, Stanbic and ABSA, all expressed interest in this model and the opportunity it created for reaching those market segments. So in this case, EDGE certification did three things: helped unlock financing, supported delivery of affordable green homes, and created a replicable example that other financial institutions could look into when developing their own green finance products. Next example I wanted to share is Unity Homes in Kenya. Unity Homes is a residential real estate developer focused on investment grade affordable housing and community living, and their mission is to enhance lives while securing futures. They do this by developing affordable housing projects as well as providing accessible home loan options for buyers. For Unity Homes, the driver to certify EDGE was their commitment to delivering affordable housing at scale, their desire to make efficiency standard rather than a premium. The challenge they faced was that they needed a tool that would let them standardize efficiency measures across hundreds of thousands of units, not just a pilot building. And that's where EDGE proved valuable, as it enabled them to develop a green housing model that could be replicated across multiple projects. And that's where you can see how it's the design tool element, perhaps rather than the certification itself, that provided the value for this particular client. But nevertheless, they certified around 80,000 square meters of residential floor area. The Unity West, which was one of their projects, completely sold out as well, showing the commercial viability, and they're now using the app to replicate those designs to deliver impact at scale. They were also awarded an EDGE Champion Award by IFC, which highlights it's a scheme that highlights developers with strong green building commitments, and this was another marketing advantage for Unity Homes. The final example I wanted to share comes from a different sector. This is Equite's property fund in South Africa. They are a specialist logistic real estate investment trust focused on developing and owning modern logistics and industrial warehouses. What's notable about Equite is they embedded green certification into their core. So all of their new developments in South Africa target EDGE Advanced, and they have 29 EDGE certified buildings in their portfolio. Their drivers for using EDGE were clear. So there is a growing tenant and investor demand for green logistics. EDGE helped them attract tenants whilst also lowering operating costs for those tenants as well. Secondly, they wanted a strategy that could be replicated at scale, which is why they committed that all of the developments would target EDGE Advance. And thirdly, they wanted to use EDGE certification as a pathway to access green finance. In fact, EDGE certification underpins Equite's green loan funding approach by linking lower carbon buildings to cheaper or preferential categories of finance. They did face some obstacles. Industrial buildings are cost sensitive and logistic tenants often push for lower rates. So any efficiency upgrades needed to show a clear return on investment. And this is again where the app comes in, because it shows you the return on investments for implementing green measures. So it was able to provide that data for the tenants and really clearly communicate the value of the proposed measure or efficiency upgrade. Warehouses in warm climates can be deceptively energy intensive, so achieving EDGE Advance was a significant technical challenge, but one they were able to overcome through that using the app and understanding the impact of those measures. Despite that, the outcomes were strong. Equites use EDGE certification to secure the first green loan in sub-Saharan Africa, real estate valued at 225 million South African rand, which was coordinated by RMB Bank to fund several of their warehouses. The green loan structure ties finance directly to the verified building performance. So it improves the lender confidence and can reduce or protect against increase in borrowing costs over time. So again, I think the value is twofold with this example. They were able to use the certification to verify the improvements and access that financing and continue to grow their development. But on the other side, they were able to use the standard to quantify the impact to their stakeholders and attract tenants. And then in a similar way, like other leaders, they were also recognised as IFC EDGE Champion, which again is that brand visibility, that alignment with the World Bank, which is a really sort of strong marketing tool for those clients. So we've got like 4 minutes. So thank you to everyone for listening. Before I go to any questions, I just want to outline some next steps. So obviously you heard a bit today about the value of EDGE. In the new year, we are going to be running some more sessions. We will be providing information about that. The next session focusing on, okay, so you know the value of EDGE. How do you actually use it? And taking a deep dive into the EDGE app, into the standards, into the measures, and sort of looking at it from a more technical perspective. So that is our sort of next steps. I will be sharing the slides. I'll be sharing the recording. On the screen here is the contacts for both us at Sintali and also the Botswana Green Building Council if you have further questions or follow-up. But let's go to the chat and see if we have more questions in these last couple of minutes. A question on slides. Yes, we will be able to share the slides for today's session. I can see some questions have been answered in the chat already. Tebby, maybe if you could pinpoint any of them that might not have been answered.
I don't know, maybe we can allow Paul to share, but Sam has already answered his question. I don't know, Paul, if you're able to allow Paul to.
Yes. Let me.
Just briefly, yeah.
Sure. 1 second.
Sam is also one of the EDGE experts in Botswana. He's a mechanical engineer.
Paul, I have enabled you. Yeah, if you have a question or a follow-up, we will give it our best shot.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I just had 2 questions. One related to the embodied carbon.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know if EDGE uses CIBSE TM65 as a basis for embodied carbon. So that was the first question.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is relating to refrigerants. I am well aware of the fact that R410A is still one of the main refrigerants used in Africa in general.
Mm-hmm.
As you will probably appreciate, in the UK, R410A is gradually going to be phased out due to its large carbon footprint when looked at in the context of whole life carbon for different types of air conditioning system. The main culprits being VRF systems, whilst they are portrayed as very energy efficient, they have a considerably large carbon footprint due to R410A being the refrigerant that is still used extensively with this type of system. And I just wanted to find out what EDGE's stance was on R410A.
Sure. So I can part answer some of your question, but I can't answer the full. So embodied carbon, we use global, or EDGE uses global data sets for embodied carbon. What I can do is I can signpost you to, they have a sort of high level user guidance for the calculations to do with embodied carbon, and what those are and how those are created for each measure. So I can send that across post session. Regarding the refrigerant, I think that's really interesting and really valid point there. So to be honest, I think I'm not sure. My technical knowledge of the Botswana baseline and the baseline in Africa is not I'm not too sure, to be honest, but I think it would be what is the base case, whether that refrigerant is part of the base case or sort of built into that, and whether it's a requirement for those within Botswana and African context to use a different refrigerant system, or to be honest, it depends on what the baseline is set at and how to identify the improvement above that. I don't know what the baseline is, but I can happily go to our technical team and find out and get sort of like a high level answer for you. Paul, maybe if I could take your email, if you could pop it, I think you can message it to me, and I'm happy to go away and find out that information for you, because yeah, I'm just not totally sure. But thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thanks very much for trying to answer them for me. Thank you.
Any other final questions?
Julia, I think most of the questions they're towards HVAC, so maybe we can respond separately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I guess it's 2 minutes past 1. Or a couple of hours difference. It's 2 minutes past 1 in the UK here. Thank you all for your contributions today. I will send over the slides and the recording. And yeah, happy to answer further questions over email and sort of get in touch that way. But yeah, I'd like to thank Tebi, Bosa, Adita for your contributions today. Really valuable hearing for you all, and have a lovely afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. Take care.